Good morning. This is Dr. Bill Wyatt again, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about temporomandibular joint problems and how it's mixed in with orthodontics. There's no way to separate the two, so I'm going to show you a little bit about that. I better tell you I'm a general dentist that's been doing nothing but orthodontics for the last 42 years, and I did a good bit of it prior to that from the time I started practicing and went into it. So anyway, I'm a board certified member of the American Orthodontic Society. Now this is a society for general and pediatric dentists, and any dentist that is interested in orthodontics is welcome to join our group. We have a wonderful organization and a real bunch of sharp instructors that can teach you all about orthodontics, and primarily beginning and starting, and especially the pediatric dentists in it. We have a lot of pediatric dentists that are doing orthodontics now, and they do a lot of some real good dentistry, along with the many GPs like myself. I've just been limited in it for over 40 years now, and have done nothing but orthodontics along with temporomandibular joint problems. And I'm going to get on into this. Now this lady worked for me, and was real sharp lady, and learned a lot of orthodontics, and helped do all kinds of things, and bending arch wires and knowing what to do and what not to do, and she worked for me for a good many years. Then she moved to another town and worked there, but she had a temporomandibular joint problem, and she had a kind of a narrow jaw, and the vertical height of the face and everything is perfectly fine, no problem there, and the smile line's good, no difficulty there. Everything looks quite good, except she had a kind of a narrow jaw. And so when we went in there to do the orthodontics, she just looked too protrusive, and we felt like we didn't want to take any teeth out. So we widened both of her jaws out, and this works fine. In other words, you can take away the protrusiveness of a smile if they have these narrow jaws. In other words, some people's jaws will be out kind of like that, and you can widen them out to something like this, and that doesn't bother anything. But as you widen them out, actually it takes up the front, and they'll bring in the front part of the arch. I drew that second one wrong, but as you take the legs of this and go out, this will come back in from the front. So if you want to bring the protrusive front part, now this is kind of on jaws that are quite narrow, and you can see that now. And she had a temporomandibular joint problem along with this, so we had to put her in a splint and find out where her jaw, and I don't show all this in here, and to where we needed to go with it. And then we got the teeth where they fit together in this new jaw position, and she stopped having the TMJ problem, and the jaws have stayed expanded now. This was 1987, and I've seen this lady just fairly recent here, so it's 2018. I mean, it's 2018 now, 2018, and so this is That's 20 some odd years from the time we started it, and the arch is still expanded here, showing you that you can expand lower cuspids, and you can expand upper, and you can move these teeth out where there isn't no bone, and you can do it on people. I've done this on a person that's 90 years old, so this is just not correct that you cannot expand adults and that you can't actually get teeth to move out where there is no bone right now. As you expand the teeth, if you put the pressure up here, you'll get the roots out too, get the airway enlarged and everything. I'm going to harp on that till people finally get it. I've been doing that for probably 30 40 years and still hadn't got the message across yet. So anyway, here we will go with this lady. Now, to start off with, she had we now at this point we've gone through some of the TMJ stuff. We had a perfectly lined up class 1 case. There's no problem at all on that. And the other side, slightly class 2. See, this molar really ought to be out in here somewhere, about this far. That's about the distance. This is off, this is off, and this is off. You can just look. I said there's very few cases you get that's exactly the same on both sides and everything. So this one's slightly class 2 over here. So we're going to bring this out and this in a little bit to help that, as well as we're going to expand the case like that. Alright, now you can see, yeah, this was when we just started. These are fairly narrow jaws, and if you go in expanding and lining out, it became a little protrusive looking. When we were working on it, we decided, well, we'll just take this and widen it out something like this, and it came in this way. That's not a correct deal, but just look at her face when you see it. Now there's the lower jaw, and it was definitely expanded in the bottom down here now. And this old stuff that you could not expand the lower anteriors, they would go back in 10 years, and many teeth have been extracted down here just so they could line them up and keep them at that distance. And all in the world, the problem is right here is that the cuspids, as they took them back, they didn't bring the root structure of the cuspids back in. So I think we've okay, let's quieten down now. They didn't bring the roots back. You see, if you put the roots back, now if you just lean the cuspid out, it'll come back. But if you take the roots and go back with them to where they're sitting in there like they should be, those teeth don't have anything sacred in there that's going to make them come back over there. Okay, we've talked on this many times, and I've shown you some real raunchy cases, but we've widened the cuspids on so many people. I mean, if they all came back, we would have one heck of a mess, you know, and they have not. So you can just take that like it is. Now we're going to widen this out and make this look less protrusive out here in front. Okay. Now here we go in and line this up and we start the expansion. We were not careful enough right here in the front, or we didn't torque this tooth back in enough, and so we got a little gingival recession right there on that tooth as we expanded that. But watch it as we go through. We bring it back in, and you'll see that diminish over a period of years. Now that we started out, I think it was 67. No, it wasn't that. Anyway, we haven't been that long on the case, but we're going to widen that out, and we've already widened the cuspid, you see, and bring that in. Again, this side of it. Now we'll be widening this, but I'm going to put a double set of those Big Daddy arch wires on here and bring this upper and lower out. Now, to correct the TMJ problem, we had to shift her jaw, and then it was hitting out here but not back in the back, so we had to let the back teeth come together back here, and then we would take these pads off and work it out that way. It's we've got a method of coming out of the splints and into your braces by putting a part of the splint on the lower arch, and then the upper would have part of it up here on the upper, and keep it in position, and then let the back teeth come back together. And then we would take this off, and this would stay at that height, and these teeth would be in contact, all of them, and hold it where you had it. Alright, we had lowered these brackets on these teeth, and you can do that on adults. Look like I put this one way off to the side, maybe to rotate the tooth some reason, I don't know, but we've expanded this, and I'll show it to you from above a little bit better. And we had that recession down here, and I wanted you to draw your attention to that. In other words, I should have had more torque on this and brought this root in, see, so it would have swung. Now when you've got an archway on here, that tooth pivots here. As this goes in, this would come out some. So you got to kind of work out that kind of careful when you're doing that. It doesn't rotate down here in the bone like it does normally. It'll try, but the arch wire keeps it. And so if you torque it a lot, it rotates in this area, not down on some point in the root down here. That's, people don't, a lot of guys don't think about that. Now the upper, you can see the brackets, and everybody that worked in the office wanted these darn brackets. I don't like to work with them. I'd rather work with steel brackets, but a lot of people want these, so we just charge them a little more for them because they cost more and they're harder to work with. Alright, here we go again. Let me get back here. Alright, now we're wanting to widen this out on the side. So we bend two of these big wires and put in there. See, they're sticking out here somewhere. You bend them in and tie them to the teeth in here. You can put the expansion anywhere you want it, but you kind of leave this alone. So this will go in slightly as this goes out. You're not putting any more length in here. We already had the length that we were going to have, but as you go out with the sides, the anterior part is going to go in. That's just a natural thing, and that's one way you can bring the petrusiveness of somebody that's got narrow jaws back. That's the point I want to make over in this case. Alright, and of course those large wires are just perfect for doing that. Now we had her on this block, and so we let these teeth come in contact, and these teeth would be just about, they'd be on the splint like thing we'd have in our mouth, and we'd take this off once we get them in, and let these teeth erupt together here. And that's the way we come off of a splint and advance the mandible or whatever we have to do. And maybe you advance it more on one side and do the other. And this gets to be complicated. Orthodontics is not something a beginner should even think about doing. And now if he's really sharp, then watch somebody do it or work with somebody careful before you jump into one by yourself, or it'll eat your lunch. And we don't want that. We want people to do a good job of it when you get in there to do it. So this is just widening that out now. So you look at the width of the upper jaw as it goes out. You see it's widening. I'm going to show you one compared with the other in just a minute here. And there we are with the blocks, and we'll get them where they fit out here and here and here, and then we'll take one of these off and let them erupt together, and then we'll take the other one off. You see, we use these triad blocks, and you can take them off easy, but don't put something on top of these teeth like I had a lot of concise left over, so I thought I would use that, and I put it on the teeth like this, and etch the tooth down in the grooves and put that concise on there. Man, it took me half the day to grind out the shape of the teeth. I never want to do that. Now this, you cut a groove in it and you can see the tooth through there. Then you take a pair of pliers and you clamp it from the side, and it'll break half of it off. The rest of it you can take a thing, cut it down, and pick it. In other words, put force on it. It'll pop loose from the tooth. It won't be stuck on there like concise. And that person has the grooves of their teeth filled right now. I ground it down out of occlusion, but it took me at least 2 hours to do that, so I never did that again. And that's a good teacher. All right, here we let this tooth see is in touch, contact, and these will be pretty much in contact over here, and then we'll start reducing this, and we'll turn these loose. Now right now they're being forced out, you see. This is tied in, and that's what's widening this whole arch, you see. We'll show you that later on. Now, I know a lot of people look at this and god awful stuff. We got 2 arch wires in there and a big daddy wire, and it looks like, oh God, that's so complicated they don't even want to look at it, but it works good. And if you get to where you do it, it takes away some of this difficulty in looking at it. It's really, if you take it apart in your mind, it's not that big a deal. But we stop trying to raise these. We just leave them loose and let them erupt together back here in the back. And Dr. Dwayne Keller out of Missouri was the first one, and I know they did that. And I was trying to let these come together, and it's much better to let this one come together back here, the second molar. And Dr. Dwayne Keller is a real sharp guy. I think he's still practicing up there. He and I used to teach together a little bit, and he's a real fine guy. Anyway, here we are now. This is 1990, and that was it's been a few years, not to all, it's 87, I believe, so it's not much time has gone by. Now watch this place right here. See where that tissue's receded back and messed up your attachment right there, and this tooth will gradually migrate back in, and the tissue comes over it, and it looks a lot better. Now the retention we use nothing to cross over the occlusal plane, and you can make these retainers where they stick in where you can, or take them out if you want to fix them that way. But they leave the teeth free to erupt into each other, and that's what we want to do. We're going to put a bite plate on the retainer so these teeth go to a certain height and won't go any further. If they stay with that and they have this 3 to 3, remember this was crowded as all get out here. We'll show you that in just a minute here. I've got to hurry through this thing. And okay, if you look at it from the side, this is pretty much a class 1 all the way back in there. The midline looks a little bit off, like it's class 3-ish over on this side, but not much. And this is getting better right here, but I don't know exactly what the date. Well, it's 90, so it's the same date. All right, the other side is right on the money as far as class 1 interdigitation. It's rare that you get all the points going down. Sometimes you got a little wider tooth that's going to throw something off in there. So it's not set up like a set of complicated gears that are exactly without any fraction of difference in them. Alright, just another view of it there. Okay, let me get this back up. Now here's the upper. We've widened it out. Not a great deal, but it's a good bit wider, and you'll see it. Now there's where this lady wears this retainer. She takes care of it and keeps her jaw in good position, and she stays with it. And you can see how the track of the retainer is fitting in there. Now the lower, we bonded it, of course, and we're going to keep it, but they can take the bond off. It still won't fold up like they said. And you can see how wide this is. And let me see if we've got that other picture in here. Oh, that's her facial structure. This stayed good, facial height and everything. And there's her smile. Okay, here's 1992, and this area here is looking better. And let's see, that was April of 92, I believe, at that point. And her teeth look real good. She takes care of them very good. Nothing off here. The class 1 relation is perfectly fine. And this is, by the way, this is an 028 wire here, and this is an 036 wire, and we solder them together here. This one goes around, comes up in the pallet, and you make them in 3 pieces and do 2 solder joints on a retainer. We make all of our own retainers. And same thing over here. This one's socked in a class 1 too. It really, I mean, if you want the 6 keys occlusion, it really fits in there. And okay, it's 92. And we held our jaw forward by wearing a kind of a ramp at night, especially, and then in the daytime we'd wear a real narrow, small one that they could talk with and get around with. If there's the ramp that she would wear at night that keeps her jaw right in that place where the joint is comfortable back there. That's looking at it without the retainer in 92. Now here's her facial structure. Okay, that's 96. So here we are at 96, and here it was in 87, and you can see the narrowness in this area back in here, and you see this was crowded in the front. You can see when we look down on it more. Whoops. Now this is 96, and the gingival tissue is almost straightened up there. It's damaged some doing this, but not real bad. Now this is 87, and this is 96. So this is 9 years later, and you can see this is still in a class 1 relation. This is lined up, and this is looking better down here in front. Now this side in 87 was class 2-ish. See, it's about 2 to 2.5, maybe, I don't think it's quite 3 millimeters class 2, but it's class 2-ish. Now you see in 96, I hope it's class 1, but as far as we can tell, it's really socked in back here. See, it's class 1 all the way around like that. So we did make it that, and we got rid of the TMJ problem that she had. Now here's the 87, how wide the upper arch was. You can see looking down here now. And now we'll come in and show you one that's like that. So you can look at this and look at that. And so we did widen it out, and we brought this back where it looks better. The petrusiveness of her face is in, so, and it's held up. Now she wears a retainer, but I think this would stay like it is. You got to get the tongue functioning up there and putting pressure on all this and breathing through the nose and all the good stuff like that, where the tongue stays in that place and it'll go out. There's a retainer in there. It's got a ramp on it. This is a ramp we have on the retainer. Alright, here is the lower arch. This was when we started, 1987, and we'll show it to you 9 years later. But the lady worked for me, and I've seen her. She'd come back to see us, and I've seen her just fairly recent, and not the last 2 or 3 years. But if something went wrong with her teeth, boy, she would get a hold of me. Boy, she is proud of them. And watch the difference in these 2 sets of teeth now, the difference in this. So we come in and you see where this is. Now look at this again. No, wait a minute. I jumped 2 or 3 pictures, I think. Now look at the lower. Nope. Alright. Now, if you put these roots distal to the crowns, this will stay with her. This lady will have this thing when she's 100 years old, if she lives that long. But it'll stay there. And like that. Like this. Now here it is, 96. Now she's still got it bonded together, but you can take the bonds off, and these cuspid teeth, I can guarantee you're not gonna have some mysterious thing that makes them move back over in between there like they were, so you can rest assured. And I knew Dr. Little at the orthodontic school, where he had kept records for 40 years on this, and it went back in, and I could not believe what this was, a thing in some mystical way that Cuspid knew to go back over there. But what I finally figured out, that he had students widen these teeth out, and they were in a hurry, and the tooth would be over here, and they didn't have much time to do this, so they just shoved them out, shoved the crown out. The darn roots, actually, it rotates down here. If you just shove the crown out, the root will go back further than it was. And then you come off, regardless of what kind of retention and everything else you put on them, the cuspid is angled like this, and it will eventually migrate back over its roots, or it'll make a valiant effort to do so. And so he said that they all went back in 10 years. He would see them go back. And I've shown you one. There's a whole video on this thing. 20 years later, it's still out there, and that was probably another 10 or 15 years ago. And that, I can guarantee, those teeth are still out there, and they'll do it. So I'm not making any thing about Dr. Little's work. He was a gracious, wonderful guy, and I'm sorry that I had to prove him wrong on this, but he was wrong in this particular thing, but a very fine gentleman. So I'm going to hush up there. Right, here's this lady, and that's the last picture I've got on this. So I hope you get something out of this. If you sit down and watch all these videos, you're going to have a head full of orthodontics, I can tell you. But it's things you really need to do if you're going to do really comprehensive orthodontics. You have to learn a lot of stuff, and so don't give up. Just don't think that these general dentists and pediatric dentists that go to the American Orthodontic Society learned all this stuff in 2 or 3 weekends. This is a bunch of bull. I mean, they're constantly studying this stuff and continuously adding to it and improving it. And we're interested in doing really good orthodontics. And I want to recommend the American Orthodontic Society. If you're not in it and you're doing orthodontics, you really ought to join. We have some real good instructors, and I have retired now, and I don't plan to go back starting again, but I'm at least putting it on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook and whatever else, because I can sit here and do this. So we've taken about 35 minutes, so I'm going to hush, and I hope you'll get something from this that makes it worthwhile to do these things. So goodbye and good luck with your orthodontics. Thank you. Bye-bye.